All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We have a small, intimate group here today, so it should be fun. Thank you for coming. I am going to put up a sign-in form. Not sure if you already signed in before or got this link, but if you can just take a moment, take your phone out, do the QR code with your camera just to sign in. I will have this up at the end as well in case you miss it. So I'll leave it up here for like 60 seconds, but I will introduce myself. My name is Brent. I am the Assistant Director of Admissions at Miami Law. I also am a Miami Law graduate, class of 2018. So any questions you have about Miami Law specifically, law school generally, and the application admissions process, I am here to be a resource for you. And so today I will briefly go over the admissions process and what we look for in our applicants. And then I will give some fast facts about Miami Law as a school. If you have any questions, you can feel free to unmute yourself and just ask in the middle of the presentation. You can save it for the end. You can type in the chat box, whatever you're comfortable with. But I will definitely open it up for question and answer at the end. But I'll go ahead and get started. So I will talk about the requirements for law school applications generally. These are the specific requirements for Miami Law, but for the most part, all law schools require the same things. The number of letters, for example, may differ. What they take into consideration may differ, but these are basic requirements. So we do require a law school admission test score. So you do have to take the LSAT at least once. We need you to sign up for the LSAC Credential Assembly Service. What that does is give us a report with a number of things. It kind of streamlines a bunch of documents for us into one neat report. And that report includes your LSAT scores. We do require all transcripts from any academic work you've taken at or beyond the college level. So if you took community college classes over the summer, if you take a master's course and like get a master's degree, all of that stuff needs to be included in your application. So get your transcripts from all the schools you've attended. The report also includes your LSAT writing sample and then your letters of recommendation. For Miami Law specifically, we require a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 4. Other schools may differ, but you will need letters of recommendation regardless. We do require a personal statement. That's the only writing that we require. Other schools may require more, but that's it for us. And then we need a resume on file as well. What we consider in all of this is probably the most important part. I will start with the LSAT. For us, we give your highest score the most weight. Some schools may calculate the average. Some schools may take into consideration how many times you take the test. We don't care. We want to see what you do at your best. And so that highest score is given the most weight. So if you take it once and knock it out of the park, great. If you take it 7 times, that's great too. Whatever you need to do to get a score that you're comfortable with. So that's what we consider as far as the LSAT goes. Your academic record as a whole. Undergrad GPA is going to be very, very important. While we do take into consideration graduate degrees, the thing about law school is everyone is required to have a bachelor's degree, nobody's required to have a graduate degree. So the only way we can compare applicants amongst one another is through their undergrad GPA. So that's going to carry more weight than your graduate degree and that GPA. But we do take it into consideration when we're looking at your higher education journey generally, but the undergrad GPA is going to be most important. We're not just looking at the cumulative GPA, we're also looking at grade trends and course rigor. So were you consistent throughout all 4 years of college? Did you start off rough and then increase as the years went on? Did you have a major dip sophomore year and increased it junior year, then dipped again senior year? We're looking at all of those trends and all of those patterns and taking that into consideration. And then, of course, course rigor. We understand that STEM majors in particular have a much more difficult course load than like liberal arts majors, for example. So a 4.0 in sociology and a 3.0 in chemistry may end up balancing out just because we know how difficult the course load is for those science, math classes, etc. So that's taken into consideration when looking at your overall GPA as well. For letters of recommendation, we prefer academic and or professional only. So no personal letters, no letters from family members, no letters from childhood friends. We assume that they'll have nothing but good things to say about you, and we want to hear a perspective from the academic setting or the professional setting. This could be a professor, this could be a manager, a supervisor, a sports coach, a pastor. It doesn't really matter what realm it's in, but they should know you well enough to speak to your capabilities either in the classroom or in a professional setting. And you want to make sure that they know you well. Make sure you've had more than 1 or 2 interactions with them because it will show through in their letters. So someone that knows you well and someone who knows what you're like academically and professionally. As far as writing skills go, we look at your LSAT writing sample mainly to see how you do under time constraints and on a standardized exam. But your personal statement is where we gain a lot of information. We are looking at the content. So just so you all know, Miami Law does not do interviews for the JD program. And so the only opportunity we get to see who you are, what you're passionate about, why law school is through that personal statement. You do want to be creative about it because the committee reads thousands of these every year. And so you don't want to blend in. You want to stand out. You want to be genuine. You want to be authentic. And you want to be true to yourself. Any information that we can't get elsewhere in your application and you want us to know about it, you should include that in your personal statement. So there's no need to rehash resumes. There is no need to tell us the courses you took and what grades you got. We can see all of that in other parts of your application. That's why we require them. But we should gain insight into who you are as a person through this personal statement. So content is important, but we're also looking at your writing skills generally. Writing is a big part of law school, a big part of the legal profession. And so we are checking out if you have any typos, if you have grammar issues, do you indent your paragraphs? Did you write 5 pages when it could have really just been 2? We're looking at all of those things and taking that into consideration when reviewing your application. As far as the resume goes, any professional experience and internships are welcome and encouraged. We do not require you to have any sort of legal background. If you do, that's great, but it's not an advantage. It's not a disadvantage if you don't. People work in different spaces for a variety of reasons. We just want to see some kind of professional development. So that's important. Any extracurricular activities, we are particularly interested in leadership roles that you may have, any sports you may have played in college, community service you've done, anything on or off campus outside of the classroom, we'd like to see that as well. And then unique honors, sometimes people will add scholarships they've received, awards that they've been given for certain things, etc. So that's basic resume. We just want preferably the last 5 years. I wouldn't suggest more than 2 pages for a resume. We want the most recent, and it does not have to be the most relevant in terms of what you've been doing. If it's legal related, just the last 5 years or so, most recent experiences. And then Addenda. This is completely optional, but highly encouraged. And a lot of people don't know that this is an option. But the personal statement, like I said, is the only required writing, but you can upload any additional document to add more information. Whatever you want the committee to know, you can add an additional document explaining it. The most common types of addenda tend to be LSAT and GPA related. So LSAT, some examples. I had technical difficulties during my exam. I don't have a good history of taking standardized tests. I caught COVID the week before and it messed me up. I didn't have enough time to study because I was working full time and going to school at the same time. There are a number of reasons why an LSAT score may be lower than you had hoped for. You can talk about that and you can explain that. Same thing with GPA. Maybe freshman year, you started off pre-med and decided that STEM was not for you. You did horrible in all your courses, but then you chose a major you liked and did so much better. Maybe you got sick for a semester and it impacted your grades. Whatever the case may be, it's important to add that information into your application so that we can consider it. Now, I want to make it clear that addenda are not meant to be excuse letters. They are not to gain sympathy, pity, or anything like that. It really is just explaining context and circumstances. We understand that our applicants are humans. Life happens, things get in the way and interfere with our academics. We would just like to know that when we're looking at those numbers, because if we don't have that additional information, the only thing we see are your grades and your LSAT scores. We don't know what you were going through at that time unless you tell us. And so if you let us know, we can take that into consideration when looking at your academics. So that's more than welcome. And then other types of addenda include diversity statements. We don't require them, but you can absolutely upload them. Why Miami law statements. Again, any additional information that you want the committee to consider, write it. If it doesn't fit into your personal statement story, upload an addendum, but it should be, again, information that we cannot get elsewhere in your application. The only addendum that is required is if you answer yes to any of our character and fitness questions. That includes any academic warnings, academic probation, disciplinary warnings through the university or school, criminal history, things of that nature. They do have to be disclosed and they do have to be explained. But outside of that, additional information and addenda are completely optional, but highly encouraged. So we take all of those things into consideration when we're looking at our applicants. LSAT and GPA are obviously very important, but all of these other things are taken into consideration as well. So just make sure all of it is super strong. The application timeline is important. Generally, the application process takes about a year, and we're including studying for the LSAT in that. For Miami specifically, our application window is September 1st to July 31st. So we are open basically year round, except for the month of August. We are on a rolling admissions basis, so we keep admitting until our class is full. That's really important because you want to apply in the first half of the cycle when there are plenty of seats available. Our priority deadline is January 15th. Anyone who applies between September 1st and January 15th, they get priority consideration for admission as well as scholarships. So let's say you apply in April, you have a 180 LSAT and a 4.0 GPA, you probably won't get a scholarship because all of our scholarship money will have been awarded to those priority applicants already. Or you may not even get a seat in the class because our class is full and now you have to be put on the wait list and hope that someone drops. So it's super, super important. Even though we are accepting and reviewing these applications until July 31st, you want to apply in the first half of the cycle for your best chances. Now we factor LSAT into that. My general rule is the year before you want to enter law school, that's when you should be taking your first LSAT exam at the very latest. So for example, if you planned on entering law school in August 2023, the first LSAT you should have taken should have been over the summer. I say that because 9 times out of 10, from my personal experience, as well as just working in admissions, the scores you get on your practice exams, 9 times out of 10, you're getting lower than that on the actual exam. And some people are okay with that and they're comfortable with what they got. A lot of other people are disappointed and we're hoping that they would do better. So in order to apply early, but still get a competitive LSAT score in, if you take it the summer before you plan on entering law school, you have time in the fall to take it again if you need to, but still make that priority deadline. hopefully that little timeline makes sense, but you just want to start preparing a full year before you want to enter law school. And then plus a couple months because you want to study for the LSAT, because that is a pain in and of itself. We do have a binding early decision program. The criteria: you have to be a Florida resident or attend a Florida undergrad institution. If you do not meet that criteria, you're still more than welcome to apply early decision. You just have to email us and ask for consideration. And this is really, really great for people who know Miami law is the place they want to attend. So that's just a note on the timeline generally. And then before I talk about Miami law, I'm not sure where you all are in the process of college, master's degrees, etc. But hopefully you have chosen a major or chose a major that suited you, because we tend to do better in classes that we're actually interested in. You do not have to be a political science major to go to law school. You do not have to be on the pre-law track. You could major in art, dance, psychology, history. It does not matter. We generally have between 70 to 80 majors represented in each of our incoming classes, so wide variety. And that kind of ties into participating in extracurricular activities. Does not have to be legally related. Just do stuff that you're going to be invested in, and make sure you have leadership roles in those kinds of things. I say consider legal internships not because it looks good on an application and not because it'll give you an advantage, but because it will really help you figure out if this is something that you want to do. I heard a couple of you earlier say that you have been in the legal field and it has excited you and has motivated you to go to law school, and that's fantastic. You also have experience in certain fields, and you can kind of narrow it down when you get to law school and you're like, okay, I did this for X amount of years. It was interesting, but I don't like it. I don't want to do that long term. Let me focus on other classes once I get to law school. So that's why it's important to consider legal internships or jobs, just because it's helpful in narrowing your interests, so that you're not like all over the place, which you can be in law school. You don't have to specialize in anything. You can take whatever classes you want. But if you have a particular interest, then you know to take classes in those fields. And then the last thing I'll say is just to research schools. It's super, super important to make sure that any school you apply to, you can genuinely see yourself being a student there. My best piece of advice when it comes to this is create a checklist of things that you want to see in your law school experience. This list is going to look different for everybody. Important factors for you may not be important to other people. Do you want diversity on your campus? Do you want warm weather? Do you want faculty and students that are supportive? Do you want a particular field of study? Are you looking for a particular program that not all schools offer? Do you want really good school spirit? Do you want to be in a vibrant city or a smaller city? There are a number of reasons why people choose law schools. So make sure you have a list of why you want to go to law school, what you want to get out of it, and make sure the schools that you're applying to have all of those things, so that no matter where you get into and whatever place you decide to go, you know that you'll be getting the experience that you want. Because law school is tough, it's expensive, and you don't want to be uncomfortable or be in a place that's not beneficial for you. I know Miami law, we have a ton of resources to get to know us. We have open houses, we have admissions 101 events, we have tours, both on campus and virtual. We have class visits on campus and virtually. So there are a number of ways that you can get in contact with us and get to know the school from various perspectives. And I'm sure a lot of other schools have that as well. So definitely take advantage of that. And now, before I open it up for questions, I do just want to tell you a little bit about what Miami law has to offer. I feel like a lot of people think of Miami, Florida, and they do not think of law school. That's not the first thing that comes to their mind. They're thinking about a lot of other things, but not law school. But it's a fantastic school, speaking from personal experience, not just saying that because I work there, but academically speaking, we have one of the largest curriculums amongst any law school. We offer over 300 courses a year. We have 18 areas of study. Whatever you are professionally interested in, we have courses on it. So you can explore just about everything, from business law to real estate law to immigration to entertainment, arts and sports law, maritime law. We have a ton of broad as well as niche topics you can study. We have joint degrees available. So there are 26 joint degrees that you can get amongst other UM schools. So for example, JD MBA is a very popular joint degree option where you would apply to the law school and UM's business school and get both degrees at the same time. So we have joint degrees in that respect. And we also have 8 JD LLM degree programs. An LLM is a master's of law. So if you are looking to specialize in a particular field and you want like a master's of law in that area, then that's really helpful. I will say entertainment, arts, and sports law is probably our most popular JD LLM program because we're the only law school in the world to offer it. And those industries are very hard to break into. So to have a master's of law specifically in the entertainment, arts, or sports law track is incredible. We also have concentrations and areas of focus available. There's no major in law school. You don't have to specialize in anything, but I think of concentrations and areas of focus as like minors. So there are only a couple course requirements, and then you get a notation on your transcript. So that's all available for you. We do have a 7-to-1 student to faculty ratio. We have over 300 faculty members, so a lot of knowledge to pull from. I think of it as like college, like they're not going to come and check in on you, but the second you reach out to them, they are more than happy to help. So stopping by office hours, speaking with them after class, emailing them to set up an appointment. They love to help. Law professors love to hear themselves talk, so they will keep you company for hours if you let them. But they're really, really accessible, really resourceful, definitely can take advantage of them. We do place a very big emphasis on experiential learning, so it's important for us to get our students familiar with the professional field before you even graduate. So some of the ways that we do this is through clinics, practicums, externship programs. What we want you to do is work and get your feet wet and understand what it's like to practice in the field before you finish school. We know there's only so much you can learn from a lecture or reading a book, so we want you to just get out there. I will say clinics are very, very popular. We have 10 of them at our law school. Essentially, in a clinic, you partner up with another student and you take over every aspect of legal cases. These clinics do have clients from the local Miami-Dade community, and you would be doing everything an attorney would be doing, from interviewing them, showing up to court for them, writing memos and motions to the judge. You are taking on real life cases. So it's a great way to just, like I said, get involved in the professional field before you step foot into the real world. We do have 26 study abroad opportunities in 13 different countries. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can definitely do that at Miami. We have over 55 student orgs on campus, so plenty to get involved in. And it's a great way to network because these organizations tend to host alumni mixers, panels, workshops, etc. So you can meet attorneys, judges, legal practitioners in whatever field you're interested in. And a great way to just gain a community of friends and network with upper level students as well. A lot of student support from many, many different programs. One being the Office of Career and Professional Development. You will be assigned an advisor in that office for all 3 years while you're in law school, as well as after you graduate if you need them. There's no job guarantee through this office. Ultimately, it's up to you and how well you perform academically and how well you do in interviews, but they will do everything they can to prepare you. So they'll go over cover letters, resumes, do mock interviews with you, print out business cards. They do a number of things, and they keep an online database that they update almost daily with different job postings, internship postings that you can filter based on type of law, geographic location, etc. So we have that office for you and those advisors. We have an academic achievement program. The staff in that office make sure that all of our students feel settled academically. They host a number of workshops throughout the year, specifically for 1Ls, as well as graduates who are studying for the bar exam. We have an office of accessibility and inclusion. If you have a disability or need accommodations for your classes or testing, we can make sure that you have the proper resources in place. So there's things like that that we have to make sure that our students feel supported from all angles. We have a worldwide alumni network. We do have alum in 85 different countries, all across the United States, Washington, D.C. We have about 52% of our graduates will end up staying in Florida. The other 48% are all over. But the biggest alum base outside of Florida in the US is New York City, Los Angeles, and the DMV area. So if you don't want to stay in Florida and practice, you can definitely take your skills that you've learned at Miami and transfer them over just about anywhere. And then, of course, the great location. We are in Miami. It does speak for itself. The weather is gorgeous. The campus is absolutely beautiful. We are right in the middle of the main undergrad campus. So the University of Miami school spirit is definitely felt everywhere. There's a lot of great things to do, not just in the city, but also just like professionally. So the legal market is huge, and anything that you think you're interested in pursuing, there's an opportunity to do that somewhere in Miami, because it's just such a diverse and huge city, but the location's fantastic. But you don't have to stay there if you don't want. So those are very, very brief facts about Miami. I will put this up for about 60 more seconds, just in case you didn't have a chance to sign in earlier. But with that being said, I will stop talking, and any questions that you may have, please feel free to ask.
Oh, could somebody screenshot that and send it to me in an email, this little form right here?
It's actually in the email that I sent out, the announcement that I sent out. There's a link down the bottom also. So
is that the pre?
Yeah.
Oh, I already did it.
Perfect. All right. Anything I can answer for you?
A quick question. So you said that the class size or the ratio was 7 to 1.
Yes.
What does the average class size look like?
So our incoming classes, we're a pretty big law school, so we generally have between 360 to 370 incoming students every year. With that being said, your first year, those class sizes are going to look a lot different than your last 2 years. The first year, we pick all of your courses for you. You do not get to choose. They're all bar exam foundational courses. And so we have 4 sections. We split the incoming class into 4 different sections, A, B, C, and D. It's completely random. It means absolutely nothing. But those are the people you spend all of your time with. You take classes with them.
Or like your...
Yes, exactly. So whatever 360 divided by 4 is, that's how many people are going to be in most of your classes, because you're all taking the same courses. You have the same professors, same class time. And so you get really close with them. Some classes like property, your legal research and writing course, they may be smaller sections within your section. So you'll have maybe like 20 to 30 people as opposed to like 80 or 90. But for the most part, they're pretty big lecture hall style courses. But after that, your second and third year, about 75% of our upper level courses have 25 students or less. Because we offer so many courses, it starts to get very niche. And so you may have a class as small as 8 to 10 people, just because we just offer so much that people are taking various courses at the same time, but there may be some other courses like Constitutional Law 2, Business Associations, Trust in the States. There are some courses that people have to study for the bar exam, and so they go ahead and get a head start and take those in their upper level courses, and so more people tend to take those to prepare for the bar. So those are a bit bigger, but generally speaking, that second and third year, your classes are going to be a lot smaller.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. What is your median LSAT score of your admitted applicants?
So it is a 161 right now, and GPA median is a 369.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
My name's Cecilia. I'm sorry, I didn't turn my camera on. Do you have any advice for personal statements?
So it's hard because our prompt in particular, you definitely have to be careful of the prompt. Some schools ask for particular things. Miami, we're very general, so you can talk about whatever you want. I always advise, mention somewhere in there, why law school. You do not have to go to law school. It's 3 years, it's hard work, it's expensive. So why are you choosing to pursue this field? We'd like to know more about that, because that's something that we can't get from the rest of your application. We just want to hear your story. We want to get to know you personally, because that's the only way we can, since we don't do one-on-one interviews or anything like that. So just tell your story, but be authentic, be genuine, and just let us know what you're passionate about, what your interests are, and why law school.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question. Good evening. My name is Demetrius, ma'am. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much. Two-part question. How bad would it look if someone has like in an undergrad, I guess you would say, maybe a 2.5 or a 2.8, but then has a master's of like 4.0 with a 20-year gap in education, as it were?
I'm glad you brought that up. I am aware that you all are more of a non-traditional student group. That's super important. Most of the organizations I talk to, they're coming straight from college, so GPA is absolutely everything. But when you are what we call a non-traditional student and you have years of professional experience in between college, if your GPA was not so great in college, one, write an addendum explaining why, just so that we have that context and we understand those circumstances, but also note that we will be taking your professional experience into much more consideration than we would someone who's coming straight from college. We know that you will not be the same person years later, and that we're sure your academics have improved one way or another in those years, and you have gained skills that college students just don't have. They just don't have, because they don't have time to build careers. So we do take your professional experience into heavier account than we would what we call a traditional student. With that being said, undergrad GPA is still going to be important, but we are leaning heavily on the professional experience, and you would also want to shoot above the LSAT median. So that they can kind of balance each other out. For us, LSAT versus GPA, one is not more important than the other. If you have a lower GPA and a higher LSAT, or vice versa, they can kind of balance each other out. So that's what you want to do. Add an addendum, make sure you include all of your professional experience, and make sure that the rest of your application is really strong to make up for that lower GPA.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
What if you have 2 undergraduate degrees? Because, well, I'll just let you answer it.
We do take that into consideration. So yeah, we take all of your academic history into consideration. And so that does include graduate degrees. That includes more than one undergrad degree. But the numbers are still going to be somewhat important. And if you have any red flags surrounding them, just make sure you explain so that we can take that into account when looking at it.
So it wouldn't be like you could put them both up there, is what I'm asking, because
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yep, we require it actually. If you do
Okay.
have any work that you've done at the college level or above, we require those transcripts. So you do have to disclose that.
Okay.
Hi, this is Cecilia again. So I think you mentioned this right before I asked my question. Did you say that 161 was your average LSAT or median or?
That's our median. So we do, there's no range for our admissions process. We have 50% below that, 50% above it. It can be anywhere from high 140s to low 170s. Same thing with GPA. It could be 2.0s to 4.0s. Because we are looking at everything holistically, but to give yourself the best chance of admission, as well as scholarships, because our scholarships are only merit-based. We don't have need-based or anything like that. So LSAT and GPA are heavily taken into account when considering scholarship awards. You want to make sure that it's close to the median or as close as you can get it.
Thank you.
What do, because I know that the summers in between your school semesters are very important. What type of opportunities do you guys kind of provide or offer during those like summer internship times?
So everyone pretty much interns over the summer because that work experience is going to be so crucial and so important when you're looking for jobs after graduation. Like I said, we do have our Office of Career and Professional Development. And so if you're looking for a particular job over the summer, you can speak with your advisor about it. There is no job guarantee through us. So you do have to like go out there, apply, interview, and all of that. But we can get you to the right direction and put you in the right place. I will say for big law, corporate law specifically, if you want to work in a big law firm and be a summer associate and make a lot of money over the summer, you have to get very good grades your first year. That is like number one. You're not allowed to work your first year in law school. So the only thing they have to go off of is your grades. So that is like a requirement for those types of positions. Other positions, they require a little less, but that's just a note for big law firms in general. But everyone interns because, like I said, professional experience is so important in the future. But then some people also take courses as well. Any other questions? I'm going to put my email in the chat box. Just in case you have any questions, you want to set up a meeting, anything like that. I'm very honored to have been able to present today. I don't think we were familiar with this program, and we just love the exposure, and it's really nice to be able to talk to non-traditional students because we want diversity in our classes, and that includes veterans. Thank you for your service, Robert. That includes older students with a lot of professional experience. This is just a great opportunity for us. So I appreciate you having me here. And please do reach out in the future if you have any questions about law school admissions, anything like that.
Can I
Thank
just
you so much for coming. Oh,
can I
I'm sorry,
ask
go
you
ahead.
One more question? if you
Yeah,
have-
please.
So I've always been interested in the JD MBA kind of program. If you could just touch on that a little bit more. I mean, is that, are you taking extra, is that like another year? Or am I gonna have to take the GMAT, GRE? Like, how does that kind of?
Yes, so for those joint degree programs, for JD MBA specifically, you're applying to the law school as well as the respective UM school for that other degree. So for us, that would be the law school and the UM business school. You go through the JD process, and then you have to reach out to the business school for their application process, which will include the GRE and anything else that they may require. If you're accepted into both, then you can do the program. You don't have to decide on doing that until the end of your second year of law school is the latest you can apply. You can't even get started on those classes until after your first year anyway, because like I said, all of your courses are chosen for you, so there's no time to do other classes. So you have time to decide if that's something you want to do. Normally, getting 2 degrees at once will take an extra semester or 2. It depends on how you set up your schedule. If you overload on courses throughout the semester, if you take summer courses, it really just depends. But if you get accepted into both programs, then that's when you can choose one semester to do all law school courses, one semester to do all business. Maybe you want to do a mix of both. That's going to be completely up to you, but you will have to comply with the requirements for the law school as well as the business school.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any more questions for our speaker?
Not until it's almost time to go. I'm just kidding.
That's usually how that works, you know. Okay, well, if no one has any more questions, we won't keep you any longer. We greatly appreciate you coming this evening. I will go ahead and get this video uploaded and a link sent out to all of our members. Also, I will send your email to them in case they have any questions. And like I said, we really, really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. You all have a wonderful night, and I hope to talk to some of you very, very soon.
Thanks so much.
you.
Bye.